Welcome everybody, and thanks for coming to this session. This presentation is intended to be quite specific about describing how to connect FileMaker with Power BI through API. I know there's not a lot of this in the community, and there have been some things, but not quite specific. So our goal is to explain a specific, again, technique and offer some recommendations. In Bitwalk, we have been a lot of back and forth with this topic, and we have succeed through a lot of trial and error, and I'm not sharing some truths, but some recommendations of what worked for us, okay? So choosing BI as an introduction, we all heard about Tableau because in some time FileMaker developed a connector that worked amazing with Tableau, and it worked really well, was convenient, fast, and stable, but it is expensive. It's very, very expensive. And believe that also there is more designed for large enterprises with tons of data. So lately, our recommendation for our clients, for our projects, has been always Power BI, because of course it's cheaper, and we are assuming that our clients have already an Office 365 license, which makes the Power BI license even cheaper, like €9 user month, comparing to the €70 user month of Tableau, okay? So about data volume, it's true that we all believe that Tableau is made for big projects and lots of data, and Power BI is not so good handling such amount of information. But in the last years, Power BI has done a great job improving this manage of big data, but this is an important variable. How many data do we have to reflect in our Power BI project, in our Power BI report? Power BI has improved a lot, but we have had lately some troubles that I share with you lately. So this presentation is about Power BI, so let's use Power BI. We've made the decision, and we think is the better choice. So what do I do on the FileMaker side? You probably know this. What do we do in Power BI? And some suggestions, some recommendations about the best way to approach this kind of project. The FileMaker side, for all of you, probably this is the easiest part. We just to do in the FileMaker side, our recommendation is one dedicated file, one dedicated account. I'll show you later. One permission exclusively for the Power BI report, and separate layouts. And if I go to FileMaker, if I go to FileMaker, this is an example. This is the example I use. This is Sense. It's our dashboard for managing wealth, managing private investments, which is integrated with lots of banks and things like that. But this is the front, okay? No big deal. But we have talked that for integrating this FileMaker with this Power BI. Can you see it well? Oh. Okay. All of this comes from this FileMaker, as you may know. And all we need is a separated file, which means a separated file, which I called directly VI, because in the future we don't know if there won't be Power BI, will be another kind of BI. So if I open, this is going to be a separated file with dedicated layouts. Dedicated layouts, one one layout for the accounts, another layout for the banks, for instance, and another layout for position and composition, which is quite complex, so we have to approach it through portals. I'll also talk about this later. So this is one file, separate layouts for each table we want to the Power be able to read. In each layout, we only reflect the exact fields the Power BI needs. If a field is not painted here, the Power BI won't be able to read it. So it's very important. And we also don't put anything that the Power BI needs because it's noise for him, okay? And the one dedicated account, one dedicated account, we call it cast report, for instance, okay? And the most important thing is that, of course, as you may know, this account has to be the check of the access via a FileMaker data API. And this account has to be has to be inserted in every file of the solution that the Power BI needs to read. Okay? Okay. And if we go back, well, I'm not reading my script. I'm just okay. So what on the server side? On the server side, you all know what we need. We need the API being checked on and a good certificate SSL. Well, we need it for almost everything these days in FileMaker, okay? So great is that, well, this is the API of the FileMaker server, available, enabled. So great. Now we have everything we need on the FileMaker side, and what do we need to do on the Power BI side, okay? So first of all, of course, we need a license, and this is quite easy. You know, this kind of platforms like Office or MailChimp or whatever you use, they change the license from every 2 months, but at this time, we have the Pro license or the Premium license. The Pro license, which allows you to refresh 8 times a day, it has been from now on enough for any of our projects. But that's best. The Premium license allows you every 30 seconds, so if you need it, you can hide it. And the Pro license is the one I told before that is quite cheap because it's €90 user a month. Okay, and the connection is the main thing we are here to talk about. And as I will try to, we'll always try to make connection through API, and I'll talk later that not always is possible. And in Power BI, we won't find a FileMaker connection, a direct FileMaker connector. In FileMaker Claris Connect, we won't have a Power BI connector. So this means that we will have to create a blank query from the scratch, and this is a tricky part. This is uncomfortable compared to Tableau, but once you understand how is it done, is quite easy. It's not really difficult. Okay. So the first thing we have to do is to establish the FileMaker server address in our Power BI. I will show you now. And later, we will obtain a single token for each query, okay? So in the FileMaker, if we go to Power BI, which I have here, I hope this session, sorry. Sorry about this, okay. I hope this session has inspired, yes, sorry. If we go to Power, this is our Power BI of Sense. I'm not here to show you how it works and how to configure the whole Power BI, just to show you how to connect to the FileMaker, okay? So this is an already in production Power BI. And how do we establish the address of our FileMaker server? Is as simple as transform data, data source settings. Is it? No, this is enough big. And now here we put on the address of our FileMaker server, which calls attendees. This is our FileMaker server for testing, okay? So we establish it here and it's done. We have an anonymous connection between our Power BI and our FileMaker server. And now the next, this is as easy as it sounds, and now the next thing to do is to establish a token, and this is the tricky part. For establishing a connection token, I have to go back to Power BI. And we go to transform data again. I'm sorry, I am in transform data, okay? Transform data. And here I have all my functions and all my tables that are set up to call for the individual layouts I established on FileMaker. The most important part is this get token, okay? This get now we obtain the connection token, and we will start again a blank query from for building it and for requesting it. I could show you how this is, but I will have to kill you because I'm showing our connection token. So I'm going back to the presentation, sorry, and show you a save image, which explains this is the way we establish the token of. First, we establish the token address with the direction of our FileMaker server. And it has also the direction of the individual file we set up. This. Sorry, I'm moving from the line. This is the FP12 FileMaker file. And the token of is just the our user and password we set on in our dedicated account, our dedicated user in the FileMaker. Is just our user and password separated by a colon in base 64. And that's all the Power BI needs for asking a connection token against our FileMaker, okay? So if we go back to Power BI, okay, once this get token is settled, you can build the rest of functions based on it. Like like this one, I will show you now what is all this. What is this strategy we found it was the best way to approach when we have a lot of amounts of data. Okay, so we can begin our data retrieval. Okay, so again, we begin our data retrieval. And what to do? We have a table from which we want to retrieve all the data, or 5, 10, 12 tables, one table for the example purposes, in which we establish the view name, that's the name of the layout, in which we will represent that table in our dedicated file. We then, this table calls a function, which I will show you. It's called getTotalRecords, which has its own get token. And that's because this token we're getting has the life of, I think, 15 minutes life. So if we want a query which response is very big, it will gives us a timeout. So we don't use this token for a bunch of queries. We have a single token for every query, and every query contains one call for one table in amount of records, because we need to paginate. The pagination, you say in English? Pagination. Because if you're trying to retrieve a table who has the 100,000 records in one single query, it will give you timeout for sure. So we try always to paginate. And there are 1,000 different techniques on how to approach this, but we found this is the best one, okay, for us in the most of our projects. So we invoke the table, get the total records, which has his own get token, then get data, which is another function that has another get token and does the pagination job, okay? So if we go to Power BI, we have here, I don't know if I can make it a little bit bigger. Well, okay. So we have here from the table, for example, we'll take the table accounts, the accounts in the bank, okay? We have these are the data we retrieved before. This is not refreshed at all. And in Advanced Editor, we can establish, the most important part is that we can establish our layout VI accounts. This is how we called the layout in our dedicated file, okay? And these accounts invoke the getTotalRecord functions we have here. And these getTotalRecord functions, if we go again to Advanced Editor, the things that is calls it gives you the amount of records, just a number, and retrieve the number of records, and in getData, through the getTotalRecords, just paginate that number. If we have 10,000 and we have a limit of 1,000 records, this getData just paginates as much pages as we need to reach that 10,000, 10 times, okay? Besides, in getData, each data is referenced and summarized. So here we cannot retrieve the real record we are expecting. So in the view of accounts, we can go further one level before, and here we will see the expanded getData. It gives you like referenced fields, regular fields like standard for Power BI, let's say, and expanded field data. It gives you the express fields of our account database, table, sorry, okay? So you can have here all the fields that are reflected in our layout and not any other field that is not reflected in our layout, okay? Is it make sense for you by now? Okay, great. So if we go back to our slides, I've been through this. Okay, so here I must say, I must do a special mention to pagination, and it's like uncomfortable for us because most of us are not used to it, but it's very necessary. The limit parameter to change the number of records retrieved per query and enable pagination and avoid, and this is for avoiding exceeding Claris timeout. Claris record limit is 3,750 records per query, so it's not very much. So if you don't want to get a timeout from the FileMaker side, you must respect that limit always. We put the limit on 1,000 just for being conservative, because there are another. I will talk about timeouts afterwards, but this is quite important. So, and what about, we've talked about data retrieval, okay? We have our Power BI. Our Power BI has all the data we need for creating, but we need to upload the data, so to get it for good. So in the data uploading, FileMaker, it's a relational model. Sorry. It's a relational model, so I will go back to Power BI. And Power BI is not a relational model, but if I can find the, okay, here. Power BI has an extremely good tool to upload the first letter, to replicate your model in Power BI, okay? Power BI allows to replicate your relational data model in FileMaker, but at what point do you need to replicate every single relationship you may have in FileMaker? Well, it depends. On one hand, in these options, I will be able to find in options the, excuse me, nope. Okay. Here in data load, we have relationships, and there's a tick in import relationships from data sources on first load. So you can't import them directly from FileMaker, or you can manually build them in Power BI. So what level should I reach? So the thing is that you may inherit the necessary relationships for the business model that already exist in FileMaker, because FileMaker has already done the job. But the other data that is not in FileMaker and you may need to build in Power BI, like profit, for instance, you will have to build it manually in this data model, okay? And it's the same. I don't know. Maybe most of you use logical deletion. When you delete a record, but it's not really deleted. Sorry. So you can bring directly from FileMaker and make Power BI do the filter, or you can grab them from FileMaker already filtered. There are both techniques are acceptable, but it depends on how do you retrieve that data, and we'll see right now. So if I go back to the presentation, and now here some recommendations. Craft from all the lessons we learned along the way, and we have done lots of troubles trying to implement Power BI with FileMaker. At Bitwalk, we are pretty lucky. We have an infrastructure team, an intelligence, and artificial intelligence team. I was going to say emotional, but that's another part. But even with all that support, we've taken some real punches along the way until we figured out the way to approach a FileMaker and Power BI project. Take the following as recommendations, not commands, okay? And of course, if anyone has any other tips, feel free to share it at the end. I want to present you my old friend, the timeout. A timeout is really annoyed us, and I've mentioned a lot of times during this session, and I will mention again another 3 or 4 times more. So what a timeout is when someone has get tired of waiting. So he's not responding, and you don't know where the timeout comes from, and it's really annoying, okay? So, but they also have a function which is protecting the system from overly demanding tasks. So they are necessary. We cannot get rid of them. We have to coexist with them, okay? And they can come for anything along the way. In our case, in our integration, we have for sure several elements. We can have the Power BI server, which is in Power BI, is in their cloud, a gateway, a FileMaker server, and a FileMaker databases. The one that consistently fails means that is the shortest one. Is that one of these elements, each one has its own timeout, and the element that has the shortest timeout is the one that is giving us the headache. Okay. So the challenge here is to find out who's to blame. Okay, but each one has its own timeout, but in a REST API connection usually has middle proxies, which is on timeout. Whoops, sorry. Middle proxies, which has its own timeout. So this can be quite tricky, and you always bear in mind when someone is not working, you have to be able to find out the timeout of which element is giving it, okay? Besides, there are session timeouts and query timeouts on the top of that, okay? And you can save all these troubles with modeling techniques, okay? You can use modeling techniques that can optimize your synchronization and therefore avoiding timeouts. The less time you spend, the less probability of getting a timeout you have, okay? So the first and the simplest one is, should I retrieve my data from a form or from a portal? I don't care if it's a form or a list. For Power BI is the same to retrieve data from a layout on a form or a list. But you can have a form with a portal on it, which may allow the Power BI to grab the data already filtered, no? So the thing is, depending on the data model structure, it will resolve better one way or another. And very broadly speaking, the more horizontal your data model is, it will synchronize better the Power BI with a simple layout in a form or a list, and the more vertical the more child records, the more vertical the structure the data model is, it will work better through portals. And I'll show you now. For instance, in our FileMaker, in our VI file, is closed. Great. Sorry. No, this has no timeout. Is what I already showed you before. We have a simple layout which has 229,000 records. And this is not able for the Power BI to grab them through a form without having a timeout. So if you do it this way, which is, it's not that vertical because it has only 3 levels. It's one parent, which is the closing date, who has one composition, who has a lot of positions. So it's only 3 levels, but each closing date has lots of compositions, and each composition has lots of positions. So we found out that we can avoid that timeout through navigation through portals for Power BI. Okay? On the other hand, if we have accounts, which is hard, we have 23 accounts only. This is quite easy, and in just one query, the Power BI will grab it without a problem, okay? And the Power BI also have the power to decide whether you can synchronize, parallel, sequential, or custom your data. And we have to bear in mind that the data load strategy is whether to decide to load it in one way or another, and this is very important. So we have the parallel, which has medium time consuming, the sequential, one query after another, and the custom, which is the more or less the medium time consuming, okay? So parallel is set by default when you begin with your Power BI. It shortens to the response time, but you have to be sure the order of the data doesn't affect your subsequent calculations in Power BI or whatever you need to transform data after data loading from FileMaker, okay? The sequential, one query after another, the response time will be bigger, but it depends of each response size. So it depends of, again, of the size of each query. It can be better for you to make it sequential. And the last one, the custom way is maybe the most difficult to set up, but maybe is the best way to approach the data loading if you are having a high demanding synchronization. So I recommend the last one, but for your first times in Power BI, you can begin with the standard one, and you can try when the number of records as they increase, how each way responds. And this is for showing you where to, show you here where to transform data. Sorry. No, it's not here. It's in File, Options again. Options. Here we have the option of parallel loading of tables, default, one by one, or custom. And this is the default one is the sequential, the first I told. Okay. So going back to the presentation again. And what about the data transformation? After your data is already loaded and refreshed on your Power BI, you may need to do some transformations. And we always ask ourselves whether it should make FileMaker do the job or should get Power BI doing it. So again, the answer is depends. If the data already exists in FileMaker, because it's part of the business logic, FileMaker has done the job, so you don't have to do anything in Power BI. And it's the same that I told before. If you need a profit data, which it doesn't exist in FileMaker, you must do the Power BI side work for it. And of course, there's always in Power BI the typical transformation you will need to do, like replacing dots for commas for each separator, and American way of putting numbers from European, from Spanish. So all that kind of thing is better to do the Power BI, because the Power BI won't load your FileMaker system. It doesn't give you a timeout when the Power BI. Oh, sorry. Well, I'm done. I was going to talk about the latest news, but I don't think it's just last week we had to do all this, but through TCVs because the number of records wouldn't be the data API say no way, so we have to exchange TCVs between our FileMaker server and the Power BI, and that shit happens. So thank you everyone for coming.